It's a rather chilly afternoon on a Monday here in Brookhaven, Georgia. So I'm not going to stay outside very long. I'm still fighting off illness. But I had a nice discussion with my friend of 55 years, Charles Rowland, about my last video and my discussing of Eurocentrism, which he agrees with even to a stronger extent than I do. I don't know any black folks that are sophisticated in any way who don't basically see the problem with white folks and their Eurocentrism as being core, particularly to liberal racism. But he comes back to the idea that we as a people, as a black folks, need hope. And he always says that I don't give people hope, and I need to give them hope. And I've been thinking about that, and the fact that last week's video was directed to one white person in particular, and I mentioned that in the video, and I mentioned two of them in particular, shows in a sense I do have hope. I do have hope that maybe someday, at least some of these people, in particular these bright people, would wake up and acknowledge what, number one, they don't know. It's unfortunate that white people go to sometimes prestigious schools, but those prestigious schools are all about the reproduction of hierarchy, and they don't get the best education. I went to some very good schools, but fortunately I chose my schools not based on prestige, but on what they had to offer. They had to offer what I was looking for. And I was very happy with my undergraduate school, not so happy with my law school. Because the law school I chose, quite frankly, Emory, was not anywhere near as good as my college, Hunter College in New York. Particularly for what I was looking for. It just wasn't up to standard. But the hope that is there is some good white people out here, and there are people of color who are struggling. We elected plenty of women and people of color to Congress this past midterm cycle. I think Donald Trump is in deep trouble. The fact that Justice Roberts came out and hit him hard this past week was something that did not surprise me at all, because Roberts, even though he's clearly a capitalist and a supporter of traditional capitalist values, he is an institutionalist. And Trump's attacks on the court, talking about there were no Obama judges, no Bush judges, no Trump judges, just judges trying to do a good job, is a reality that I could very easily see and expect him to uphold. So that is helpful. What we have to do is struggle. What we have to do is make a difference in our lives through struggle. And our successes that we do see, we have to rejoice in those. We have to be thankful for those. I think focusing on individual successes and individual situations, like Ocasio winning in my old district in the Bronx in New York, that gave me so much satisfaction, because she's the kind of politician, young, 29 years old, sophisticated, urbane, hip, who understands these issues. And the fact that she allied with Bernie Sanders gives him someone near him that's a lot smarter than him, that is a lot more sophisticated than him, and that can speak to people of color, which he was terrible at. I think his heart is in the right place, but he's not exposed, and he's not the brightest guy in the world. I keep on saying that, but we have to, especially people of color, we got to recognize when white folks aren't that smart, because a lot of the white folks that want to be on our side are either not that smart or either not that well educated. And when I mean educated to the broad scope of American history, American racism, a lot of culture. You can get a degree from Harvard or Yale and be miseducated very easily and not know anything about race relations, not know anything about racism, not know anything about our experience. When I'm talking about educated, I'm talking about being educated to our experience, to the reality that we have to deal with. And unfortunately, most white people do not make the effort to learn about these things. They're lazy. Intellectually, they're lazy. They feel that they need to learn European culture, that they need to learn Euro-American culture, but they don't need to learn ours. They don't read our stuff. You recommend stuff to them. They don't do it. That's a major issue. But at the same time, as my dad used to say, it's our job to educate them. Now, I know plenty of black folks, in fact, most that I know, that say I'm wrong on this issue. So in a sense, I think in a sense I may have more hope than I'm willing to acknowledge, because I don't see them as being totally hopeless like so many other folks that I see do. I feel that it's really hard not to acknowledge reality when you see it. Though a comment I got on my last video showed that the person knew it and just didn't give it a hoot. Basically said I was repeating the same thing I said without acknowledging the reality of it, that I'm repeating it because he and others like him don't take heed. And it comes down to their self-interest. A lot of white folks benefit from our oppression. A lot of liberals benefit from our oppression because they can use our votes, they can use our support. And we have to start punishing them, extracting a price, making strategic decisions. And that is the most important thing, because we can win some victories, and that is where our hope lies, in winning those victories that we can win. And maybe one day something dramatic will happen. As, I don't want to say aliens from outer space, because Derek Bell did a little movie with George Clinton about the dangers of that happening, and the parable of the space aliens. It's on YouTube. Those of you who actually are curious about these subjects might want to take a look at that. But there is reason to hope that something dramatic could happen. I think the rise of China as a world power, American and European decline, though hurting us in the short term, may benefit us in the long term. Because Africa will rise, if not in the next 50 years, in the next 100 years, because of its resources. China recognizes how important that is. And they're taking a much more sophisticated approach to Africa than the Europeans ever did. I mean, we got to remember, the Europeans have been barbaric. They killed over 6 million Congolese in the 19th century. They killed 6 million Europeans in the 20th century. We're talking about horrendous numbers. And forget about the slave trade, upwards of 12 million over 300 years. So we're talking about a murderous people. And we have survived that. We have overcome that. So we have to continue to fight and struggle and win the victories we can. This is John Armwood on the Armwood Opinion Channel, just responding to a buddy of mine, Charles Rowland, and to the rest of you about hope and our future. Have a good day. Check the like button if you like this. If you don't like it, you know what you can do. And please subscribe to the channel. It's cold out here. It's in the 40s. But I wanted to come out here and do this. So you have a good day. And my favorite expression, resistance is not futile. And I'm going to go back to Frelimo, who fought against the Portuguese in the colonial war, and say, a luta continua. The struggle continues. All right.